A decade is ending every second, because a decade is 10 years no matter the starting date. Today an entire genre of music will disappear for the next 11 months. Modern rappers are naming themselves like they are running out of usernames. Stormtroopers must be brilliant at Russian roulette. Yoga is single-player Twister. If Home Alone was told from Harry and Marv's point of view, it would probably feel more like Saw than a fun kids movie. Sneezing is really weird. Your nose briefly transforms into a cannon that launches snot at the speed of a sports car, then you go about your business as if you hadn't just had your face weaponized. Whoever created the tradition of not seeing the bride in the wedding dress beforehand saved countless husbands everywhere from hours dress shopping and will forever be a hero to all men. When you're a kid, you don't realize you're also watching your mom and dad grow up. Everyone hates being sung a happy birthday and everyone hates singing happy birthday, so what the fuck are we doing here? Dads probably bond with dogs so much because, in our society, men don't get shown a lot of affection, but dogs give tons of affection regardless. Girls don't compliment guys because they're like to take it non-platonically, guys take it non-platonically because it happens so infrequently, they don't know how to handle it. The biggest flex is using mobile data in your own home because the Wi-Fi is being slow. If EA suffers big enough losses from the backlash of Battlefront 2, and it all started because Guy couldn't unlock Vader, this will be the second time Anakin brought balance to something. Being able to do well in high school without having to put much effort is actually a big disadvantage later in life. Anxiety is like when the video game combat is playing but you can't find enemies. 11 babies have been born in Antarctica, and none of them died as infants, meaning Antarctica has the lowest infant mortality rate at 0%. Pavlov probably thought about feeding his dogs every time someone rang a bell. During a nuclear explosion, there is a certain distance of the radius where all the frozen supermarket pizzas are cooked to perfection. If elevators hadn't been invented, all the CEOs and important people would have their offices on the first floor as a sign of status. Most people know so little that if they were transported 200 years into the past, they wouldn't be able to invent anything any quicker. The sentence "don't objectify woman" has woman as the object of the sentence. Somebody at Google was just like, yeah, just have someone drive down every road on fucking earth. College students don't want to go to graduation ceremonies, but they go to please their relatives, while relatives don't want to go but go to support the students. We should all just be honest and skip that ceremony and go out for a pizza. There is probably at least one white guy, adopted and raised in China, who speaks English with a Chinese accent and strangers just assume he's a total asshole. Apparently, a lemon is not naturally occurring and is a hybrid developed by crossbreeding a bitter orange and a citron. Life never gave us lemons, we invented them all by ourselves. Being 35 and not wanting to work in the field for which you've prepared is like being halfway through an RPG and realizing you've built out your skill tree all wrong and you can't respect and you can't make a new character and there will never be another video game again. It would be cool if after you die, you could see the top 5 times you almost died. It kinda makes sense that the target audience for fidget spinners lost interest in them so quickly. Avatar, the highest grossing film of all time, seems to have made zero impact on culture. No one references the movie, and no one really talks about it since it was released 10 years ago. A guy named Weird Al has a 40+ long career with no allegations of sexual impropriety. The Olympics is the only time when you hear great execution by North Korea and it seems okay. If we look back, Pornhub has been one of the most innovative video sharing websites. They have had permanent dark mode for years. They popularized the preview setting where you can watch the video without starting it, and still one of the few to have like/dislike percentage on display. In the anime, Ash Ketchum was supposed to be a huge Pokemon fan before he left on his journey. But every time he sees any kind of Pokemon, he has to pull out his Pokédex because he doesn't know what it is. Ash Ketchum was a poser before he left on his journey. Since there are 3,600 seconds in an hour, and most people make less than $36.00/HR. Their time is worth less than a penny per second. It's literally worth your time to pick up a penny from the ground. The syllables in "on your mark, get set, go" are a countdown. Security at every level of an airport is absolutely ridiculous. Until you get to the baggage claim. Then it's just like take whatever bag you want. Coffee makes you hyper, but coffee shops are designed for people to chill, whereas alcohol is a depressant, but bars and clubs are designed for people to be energetic. Night before a day off is more satisfying than the actual day off. Being a real grown-up isn't cooking a fancy dinner, it's having a clean kitchen when you go to bed after cooking a fancy dinner. This spring forward thing would be a lot more popular as we moved the clocks ahead at 2 p.m. on Monday. Stan Lee's funeral is going to be a reverse cameo where all the superheroes appear in the background of his story. The internet both almost killed off the postal service with email and then made it more needed than ever with online delivery. The spiders that live in Buckingham Palace now are probably the descendants of the spiders that lived there during Victorian times. It's a whole parallel royal family but with spiders. Lamps in video games use real electricity. Biting your own tongue while eating is a perfect example of how you can still screw up, even with decades of experience. Both sexes can fuck a Pringles can, but neither can do it well. Google Earth is one of the most incredible things ever created by man but is taken for granted as if it were nothing. If Eminem's mom wanted to, she could probably make a good amount of money selling her own spaghetti sauce. The biggest form of peer pressure as a kid wasn't drugs, alcohol, or cigarettes. It came during exams when it was completely silent, and you heard everyone turn to page 2 while you were still on the first question. Thermometers are speedometers for atoms. We give rude elderly people the benefit of the doubt because they've been through a lot, but there's a decent chance that old person has been an asshole their whole life. One of the most frustrating feelings in the world is being smart enough to know there's a better way to do something but not smart enough to invent a way to do it. Manuals for TVs are regarded as useless, but in 5,000 years they are as valuable as the Rosetta Stone. It contains the same text in over 20 different languages and alphabets. Smoking kills you, but the actual act of smoking is a very healthy practice. Leave a stressful environment, go outside for 5 minutes and take a deep breaths. Tinder is the opposite of porn site advertisements. There actually are a ton of hot singles in my area, but none of them are interested in me. In the Harry Potter universe, couples could take polyjuice potion and swap bodies then have sex to see what it's like from both perspectives. Watching a graduation ceremony is like sitting through a movie that's entirely end credits. It must suck to be an air conditioner repairman. You spend your day working in buildings that have no air conditioning. When it's fixed and finally cool, you leave. The fact that the death of a scientist is headline news worldwide is in some ways the most fitting tribute Stephen Hawking could possibly have. Running from the cops is the ultimate double or nothing. Talent shows like Britain's Got Talent become much more disturbing when you realize that it's just for rich people dangling money in front of poor people and telling them to dance for their entertainment. When people brokenly speak a second language, they sound less intelligent but are actually more knowledgeable than most for being able to speak a second language at all. The porn sites in the Star Wars universe must have so many categories. There is no physical evidence to say that today is Wednesday, we all just have to trust that someone has kept count since the first one ever. The tallest person in the world has physically experienced being the exact height of every other person in the world at some point. Your future self is talking shit about you. The first person who inhaled helium must have been so relieved when the effects wore off. At the age of 60, Snoop Dogg will be 420 in dog years. Being an adult is eating the crust of not because you like it, but because you paid for it. Sunny D tastes like someone made a bet that they could make orange juice without oranges. Nobody cares if their deodorant is 24-hour or 48-hour, they are still going to apply it once a day. Baby Yoda's first word probably came after his second word. Telling a dangerously overweight person not to lose weight because they're beautiful is like telling an alcoholic not to stop drinking because they're fun. A person wearing a suit in a room of people in t-shirts is usually the most important person there. A person wearing a t-shirt in a room full of suits is more likely the most important person in the room. Replying K in Morse dash comma dash has the same passive-aggressive tone. The weird, artsy, loner usually gets the girl in movies, instead of the jock, simply because many movies are written by weird, artsy, loners. Both concrete and glass are mostly made of sand, which makes skyscrapers just really tall sandcastles. Monopoly would be more realistic if the person with the most money got to change the rules whenever they liked. Students often wonder why they have to learn so much stuff like science/chemistry/biology that they'll never use, while simultaneously wondering why adults are stupid enough to not believe in modern medicine. USPS could make more money if they put post offices in airports, so instead of throwing something out that you forgot was in your bag, you could mail it home.